Hello and welcome to the Renovation Nation show, brought to you by Red Maples, your go-to source for institutional style property management for small multifamily rentals. I'm your host, Nathan Bush, and each lesson I share with you, each show I share with you lessons I learned from my inspiring real estate journey. I've created this show to equip you with the tools you need to succeed. In today's show, we are talking all about this strange concept. Your tenant is hiding this from you. Now, I know that most investors focus on things like cash flows and rent checks and ROI. The challenge that you're going to have is, why is your cash flow low? Why are your rent checks not coming in? Why are you not getting an ROI? On today's episode, I'm going to equip you with a mindset that's going to help shift your understanding about cash flow, rent checks, ROI. All of the things that you think about on a regular basis, they come down to one thing. And that one thing is your tenants are hiding this from you. What are they hiding? Well, in this episode, I'm going to unpack that. I'm going to help unpack what are these tenants actually hiding? And what do you need to know in order to get your cash flow, rent checks, and ROI up? Let's dive into the topic. Hey, by the way, if you guys like this content, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, head over to www.nathanbushmba.com for free tools that will help you grow your real estate investment. And I have designed this show to be interactive. So at any time, if you're watching live or on replay, go ahead and put your chat into the comments. And I'll try to answer that question either live on the show or I will do it on replay in the chat. I do like the interactivity. It helps to be able to build the audience and grow the show. So I appreciate you guys' help with that. Let's get into this topic, though. What are your tenants hiding from you? What is your tenant hiding from you? They're hiding this. What's this? Well, before I get into that, I need to ask you, what is your dream car? Do you have a dream car? Is it a Bentley? Or how about a Ferrari? What do you want? What's luxury and opulence look like to you? Why are you investing in real estate? Is it so you can pick up a Rolls Royce? Or a Bugatti? I don't know, maybe Cadillac truck. What's your favorite? In the comments right now, guys, if you're working towards one of these specific cars or there's a specific car you have in mind that you're working towards, what is your dream car? Put it in the comments. I'm interested to know, why are we working so hard in the real estate investment industry? Or maybe it's this. What's your ideal vacation spot? Maybe you're a snow person or you're a beach person. Which one are you? Put it in the comments. Which one are you? Which one of these vacations is an ideal spot for you? See, it's so important what we determine what luxury is. I know we're getting ready to talk about what our tenants are hiding from us, but I'm trying to remind us, why are we even doing all of this work in real estate investing? See, I know that it's extremely important that you understand and that you know what luxury looks like. How about your home? Do you have a dream home that you're specifically working towards? Is it home 1, 2, 3, or 4? And I do have a home there with some holiday lights on it for you guys, just because of the season and the name of the season. Seeing which one is most homely to you. Which one is your dream home that you're working towards that you might be most excited about? As a real estate investor, here's what I know John Maxwell says. John Maxwell says, you have to see value in yourself to add value to yourself. That's what John Maxwell says. If you guys are looking where the opportunity is, if you want to grow your personal value, your personal worth, you have to see value in yourself first. Well, that might be all good. The challenge you're going to run into is your tenants are hiding something from you. And so even if you see all of the value in yourself and you add all of the value to yourself, you're still missing something, a critical part, and that's the tenant. What are they hiding from you? Here's what I say. John Maxwell says you have to see value in yourself to add value to yourself. I say you have to see value in your tenants to add value to your tenants. What do I mean by that? Guys, it is critical. I don't know if you understand this or not, but your tenants are hiding something from you and you have to go looking for it. The good book says, ask and it is given, seek and you will find. You have to go seek the value in your tenants. Why? Well, I brought it up to you earlier in the show. We talked already about rent checks, cash flow, and ROI. If you're going to increase the value, you've got to be able to see the value first. And so you have to see the value in your tenants to be able to add value to your tenants and make your tenants more valuable. See, real estate, the long-term thought process in real estate is the potential that one day you can sell the asset for well more than what you paid for the value of that property. The value of that property has increased. Well, if we're talking about multifamily, okay, guys, if we're talking about multiple units, those are measured. The way that you evaluate a cash flowing property is like a business, and you value that based upon the rents that are coming in. And so the rents have to increase in order for the value of the property to increase. And when the rents increase, the way they increase is that you see the value in your tenants so that you add value to your tenants. And that's the challenge that a lot of real estate investors have, is that they don't have this concept down, the power of relational equity. In today's show, the thing that your tenants are hiding from you is this power of relational equity. What is relational equity look like? Relational equity looks like this. It looks like empowerment, recognizing and fostering potential in others. See, if you see value in your tenants, then you will empower your tenants by fostering their potential. But if all you see them is a check, you're not fostering their potential. One of the next ways that you can build this relational equity is through appreciation, actively valuing and respecting somebody's worth. Do your tenants know that you appreciate them? How about this? Acknowledgement. Recognizing contributions and intrinsic value. Do you acknowledge your tenants? See, one of the things I know that happens in large corporations, because I used to work for a number of them, and things that you'll probably recognize from businesses is one of the things that they put in place for employees who have been with the organization for a long time is an award. You've been with us for 5 years, you get an award. You've been with us for 10 years, you get an award. Why? They're acknowledging the employee. They're recognizing the contribution and intrinsic value. Are you recognizing and acknowledging your tenant's contribution to your life, your livelihood, the things that you're growing? So you've got to empower your tenants, you've got to appreciate your tenants, and you've got to acknowledge your tenants. Those three things alone will help the foundation and begin to build your relational equity. Now, those aren't the only things. Human-centered perspective. When you have a human-centered perspective, you're focused on the individual beyond the transactional value. It's no longer just about how much rent you can collect off the property, but you're focused on the human being who's living in the property. And when you do that, you're going to hold them in what's called esteem. So holding others in high regard. And so if you're focused on them as a human by acknowledging them and appreciating them and empowering them to live in your property, you're going to have this thing that's building with them called high esteem. Well, when you hold them in high esteem, they're going to have a certain feeling or emotion that's responsible for building this relational equity. You got to have, if you're building relational equity, you got to have a people first mindset. This is prioritizing people over profits or processes. Have you ever been in a situation where the tenant said to you they want to do something in the property and you tell them, no, that's our policy? And you don't take the time to actually explain why it's the policy. You don't explain to them how it's not beneficial for them. See, they don't care how important it is to you. They only care how important the policy is to them and how it benefits them. And so if you don't have a people first mindset, whenever you're explaining things to them, guess what they're going to do? They're going to reduce the relational equity that you have with them. Building relational equity, building esteem, building a human-centered perspective, acknowledging people, appreciating people, and empowering people all build equity in the relationship. See, real estate investors know it's so important to build equity in the property, but they forget the most empowering, important thing in this whole process. And that's building relational equity that adds value to the tenant because you see value in the tenant. I can't tell you how many conversations I have, guys, with investors. Maybe some of you are watching the show right now, and you are the type of investor who only talk to me about how much money you're making or losing, and not one conversation is ever centered around the tenant, caring for the tenant, things that you're wanting to do to help the tenant, focusing on the outcome of what the tenant wants inside the property. I find that the investors that do the best in any industry are the people who focus on other people, the people who focus on building relational equity and recognizing the worth in other people, seeing and affirming their inherent value. People are valuable. In fact, I would argue that people are the only value in the property itself. Any amount of wealth that you will ever amass in your entire life is going to come because of other people. We don't amass wealth in this world because of anything we do ourselves. And so these other people are helping you to achieve your wealth and abundance and mindset and goals and all these things. And it wouldn't behoove you to take a little bit of time to recognize the worth and the value of those people, because without the tenants, the property doesn't pay rent. You do understand that, right? It requires us as real estate investors to take a step back and look at the power of relational equity. Now, relational equity is just building and valuing relationships beyond material gains, having some respect and recognizing the intrinsic value in others, and having value for them by acknowledgement beyond financial exchanges. If you can do that, you're going to build relational equity. I put this into a model for you guys to help you understand what specific steps you can take in order to build this relational equity. And the model looks like this. I call it the CARES model. The CARES model. If you want to know what to do on a daily basis, how do you get your mindset around this relational equity? Well, it's simple. It's not easy. Not everybody does this, but it's simple in its nature. And we focus on the CARES model. Number one, communicate clearly and consistently. Do you communicate clearly and consistently to your tenants? If not, do you work with an organization that does? The communication is extremely important to the relationship. Tenant puts in a work order. They get no response from the property manager. Somebody just shows up at their house. Did you demonstrate care to them? How about it's time to change your furnace filter and you didn't communicate that to them, and then the furnace goes out and you charge that back to the tenant? Did you communicate care to them? The second step in the model is anticipate needs. I'm going to walk you through each step of the CARES model in just 1 second. And this is how you're going to identify that hidden thing, the one thing that your tenant has been hiding from you, is following the CARES model, communicating clearly and consistently, anticipating needs, respecting their space and privacy, elevate their living experience. And lastly, we got to show gratitude and value to our tenants. Okay, so this is the CARES model. When we're talking about communicating clearly and consistently, this matters because tenants value transparency and they feel respected when they're kept in the loop. If you don't become transparent with your tenants and help your tenants to have a better understanding of what's going on and communicate that to them, they're going to feel like you don't value them. And so it's imperative that you communicate with them clearly and consistently. One example of that is setting clear expectations up front about rules, maintenance, payment policies, and procedures. Don't let it catch your tenant off guard by saying, oh, well, it was in the lease that your rent's due by the 5th. Did somebody take the time to explain it to them? Was it communicated to them over and over repetitively so that they know and understand what's going on? So they know how to communicate a maintenance work order. So they know how to communicate about the rules that are up front. How about the next action step that you can take here? Send regular updates via email or text messages about things that are going on the property, repairs, community events, making sure that you're in regular communication with your tenants about things that matter to them. And then respond promptly to questions and concerns. Don't let things go on for weeks without any response at all to the tenant. They need to know that you care by responsiveness. All right. If you can take those action steps, that will demonstrate that you're communicating clearly and consistently. Remember, we're learning about the one thing that your tenants are hiding from you. What is that one thing that they're hiding from you? Well, the way we uncover that one thing is through the CARES model. And the first step in that CARES model is communicating consistently and clearly. But that's not all. We have to anticipate the needs. It's not just enough to tell somebody that you care about them by communication. Because if everything worked by communication, then communication would be the only thing we needed to do in order to add value. And that's not the case. We need to anticipate the needs. See, proactive landlords create loyalty by solving problems before they even arise. And are you a proactive landlord, or do you work with a property management company that's proactive? Because if you don't, that's what you're running into challenges right now. It's not demonstrating a level of care to your tenants, and so your tenants are turning over and leaving your property. So what are some steps that you can take? Number one, you can conduct routine preventative maintenance. Do you do routine preventative maintenance? At your semi-annual inspection, are you changing the furnace filter for the tenants? Do you change out batteries in the smoke detector? Do you take the steps to show the tenants that you care about them by caring about the property? You can anticipate needs by asking tenants during check-ins, what would they like to improve in their experience? Surveys are fine. Or how about overall small conveniences? Package lockers, extra keys, seasonal property updates, just little things that make the tenant understand that you care about and you're anticipating their needs. Here's a big one that I've noticed: completing a renovation. So many people that I see in this industry put lipstick on a pig, put a minimum amount of value into the property, and they expect to pull maximum rents out of the property. It doesn't work that way. See, tenants need to understand that you care about them and that you're anticipating their needs before they happen. If your dishwasher goes out and the hot water's not working and the tenant moves in, and the shutoff to the water is broken off and laying on the ground just because it passed inspection, doesn't mean it's done. Missing handrails for their kids. All of these things, the tenant can see that you don't care about them. You just care about the money. So anticipating the needs that somebody has is the second way that we demonstrate that we care about them in the CARES model. So we communicate clearly and consistently, and we anticipate their needs. But if it was only anticipation and communication, and those were the only two things we needed to do, some landlords would be multi-billionaires without a lot of effort because they communicate and they do take care of their properties. But there's another issue that we run into, and it's this: we have to respect their space and privacy. When people rent from you, it is so critical that they understand and that they're respected, and that you're going to respect them so they respect your property. Tenants who feel respected are more likely to respect your property. And so one way that we can add value to tenants is by communicating effectively. One way we can add value to tenants is by anticipating their needs. But one way we can add value to tenants is just respect their space. I can't tell you how many times I've heard about property managers that are just overzealous. Well, I have a right to be in there. Okay, well, maybe you do have a right to be in there. But did you give them adequate notice before entering the property? Did you avoid micromanaging the use of their space? And did you treat them as individuals, not just as renters? Think about it from their perspective. Anything you're communicating to them needs to be communicated to them for their benefit. And if it's not, if you're forcing them to, let's say, remove a barbecue pit without explaining to them in detail how it's a benefit to them and keeps the property value up and keeps the insurances lower so that you can actually keep the rents lower for them, or you have to raise the rents in order to be able to cover the insurance for the barbecue. If you don't explain these things to the tenants, you're not respecting their privacy. You're not communicating effectively, and you're definitely not anticipating their needs. It's not about them. It becomes about you. When it becomes about you, you're not adding value. You have to see value in your tenants in order to be able to add value to your tenants. Your tenants are the value inside your property. So not only do we have to communicate and anticipate and respect, in the CARES model, we also have to think about things. How do we elevate their living experience? Remember, this is a property, and people today value experiences. And so if we are adding tangible value to their lives, this increases the tenant satisfaction and retention. For those of you that have ever worked on a very large apartment communities before in property management, you'll know about during the holidays when it's fun to bring like Santa to the leasing office, or maybe tenants get presents from the investors that year, right? We elevate their experience, and that increases their satisfaction and the retention. So some things that you can do to elevate this experience is look at your amenities. When was the last time you upgraded amenities for your tenants' comfort? I don't know, just a thought. Maybe upgrade the amenities, programmable thermostats, high-speed internet available for your tenants. Something that shows them that you value them. Foster community with events and common area improvements, and share helpful resources like local guides or financial tips. These are ways the tenants see that you're elevating their living experience. And when you do that, guess what? They see that you value them. So the last step in the CARES model that I want to talk about in today's show is you have to show gratitude. You have to show gratitude. So communicate, anticipate, respect, elevate, and show gratitude. How do you show gratitude? Well, first of all, it's important that we show gratitude because acknowledging the tenant's contribution fosters goodwill and reduces turnover. When you show gratitude, you can do things like sending holiday or birthday cards personalized to the relationship. You can offer small incentives for renewals like gift cards or rent discounts. You can show gratitude when somebody offers you a referral by giving them a discount off of their rent, or highlighting the importance to the community in communications with them. So how have they impacted the community, and how have they been beneficial overall as a help to you? See, these things are so critical. They help you determine exactly how you can care about them. And when you care about your tenants, you're going to add value to their life. So when it comes to communicating with your tenants, there's another piece of communication that is so important that I want to go back through the CARES model now and help you get the right mindset so that you can add value to your tenants. When we talk about communicating clearly and consistently, I want you to also guard your own talk about your tenants. See, if you put a small value on your tenants, you can rest assured the rest of the world will not raise your price on your property. And so you can't devalue your tenants and increase the value on your property. It doesn't work that way. Don't try to compare your tenants to other people's tenants and say, well, my tenants don't do this and they should do this and they should do that and blah, blah, blah. That doesn't work to increase positive communication with them. One of the things you can do is identify and remove your own limiting beliefs about tenants if this is a challenge. When a man has put a limit on what he will do, he's put a limit on what he can do. That's Charles Schwab. Why do I talk about Charles Schwab when we're talking about limiting beliefs? Because if you're unwilling to change your mindset about your tenants, you're going to be unwilling to increase the value of your property. And so I want to take some time to share with you my recommendations on how you can transform this limiting belief. Number one, identify the limiting belief. Maybe you have a limiting belief that your tenant never pays their rent on time. Identify it. Yep, tenant, that's my limiting belief. The tenant is just never going to pay their rent on time. Determine how this belief limits you. Well, if I think my tenant's never going to pay their rent on time and I don't come up with a solution, they're never going to pay their rent on time. Then you're going to decide how you want to be about it, act about it, or feel about it. Oftentimes when tenants don't pay their rent on time, as an investor, you get upset. You think that tenant owes you something. They do, they owe you rent, but you feel upset because they owe you something. Well, that feeling is a choice. It came after you determined the fact that you weren't going to do anything about the limiting belief. You just allowed the limiting belief to exist. So you identify, you determine it, but now you're deciding how to feel or act or how to be. My suggestion is to create a turnaround statement that affirms or gives you permission to be, act, or feel in a new way that will allow your tenant to make that pivot or change and see the result. Look at that result and see if changing your limiting belief helps improve your communication with your tenant. Now, it's not just in communication that these things are so critical. It's also critical we get our mindset around anticipating the needs. When you get your mindset around anticipating the needs, you're going to recognize that you have to add value to others. And it's hard to feel bad about yourself when you're doing something good for someone else. When your esteem goes up, guess what you think is going to happen to the rest of the people around you if done correctly? Their esteem is going to come up. So my recommendation then is to practice small daily disciplines in a specific area of your business so that you can improve this anticipating of the need. If you anticipate things on a daily basis and start looking at the daily things you can do to anticipate needs for your tenants, you're going to raise the value of your tenants. It is inevitable. It's critical that you take these steps in order to help you care more about your tenants. Now, we do need to respect their privacy. Remember, respecting their privacy is the third step in the CARES model. And the way that we can begin to change our mindset about respecting their privacy is embrace a positive vision for your life based upon what you value. So instead of allowing the tenant to frustrate you because you've not respected their privacy, embrace a positive vision for your life. How would you want to be treated in that exact same situation? And how can you cast that vision and share that vision with your tenant proactively, communicative, with consistency, so they understand the importance of whatever reason you would need to be in that home, be in their home? See, respecting their space and privacy is a major step in helping you achieve the CARES goal. Now, once we've respected their privacy, remember, we're going to elevate their living experiences. And how do we get our mindset around elevating their living experiences? Well, John Maxwell teaches this thing called the one-word strategy. What one word would you use to describe your business? What one word would you use to describe your business? If you could pick just one word, what would it be? Take responsibility 100% for the tenant's experience around that one word. And imagine if the one word you used to describe your business was life-changing. Imagine if the one word you used to describe your business was value. Imagine if the one word you chose to describe your business was exciting. How would that change the tenant's experience if everything was done through that one word? These types of things, guys, have helped me to be able to get my mindset around how to cultivate this one thing called value that's hiding inside of your tenants. The one thing that's hiding inside of your tenants are hiding from you, is the value that your property could be if you just follow the CARES model. Get your mindset around the concept that you have to add value to your tenants because you see value in your tenants. And then lastly, it's very important that you get your mindset around showing gratitude and value, right? So how do we get our mind around showing gratitude and value? Well, you celebrate victories with your tenants. When there's a victory, when something exciting happens, when there's big life things that happen in their life, you celebrate those things with your tenants. Imagine how much more motivated your tenant's going to be when they get that new job or that promotion, when you're excited for them. Maybe they'll want to do that thing again. When you show gratitude and value for things that you value, you can transfer those values to your tenant so they add value to your property. Guys, I love tenants. I think that tenants are the most important, most impactful, and most valuable thing in any rental business. And so you have to see this value in your tenants so you can add value to your tenants, so they add value back to you. They see value in you and add value to you. There's a thought I want to leave you with. When you treat your tenants as partners in your property's success, you don't just add value to their lives. You unlock value in your investment. The one thing your tenants are hiding from you is value in your investment. So what I want you to do right now, don't wait on this, don't delay on this, get out a sheet of paper, and I want you to make a list of your business's best qualities. No, that's right. Make a list of your business's best qualities, and then go pick your one word. Are you aware of how you talk about your tenants? Write down thoughts and feelings you previously had about your tenants and how those are limiting you. Then I want you to write down how much time every day and every week you spend focusing on your tenants and adding value to them. Do you serve others? Do you give assistance to others when they're in need or less fortunate yourself? You don't have to give full month's rent. You don't have to, break policies and procedures and rules. They're going to hurt everybody. Just don't go big at first. Start small. Start with little acts, little ways that you can use the CARES model to add value to your tenants. And I promise you, the value of your property will change. Your life will change. Things will get better for you. Life will get easier for you. It's critical that you do these things, guys, because that's the way that your property improves. I had a real estate investor a year or so ago, a couple years ago, that had a large apartment community that we were managing. And the property was absolutely in dire straits. It was not doing well. And that's okay. I understand that sometimes investors have challenges. So we worked through the challenges with the investor. I asked the investor to do certain things and make certain repairs, and they couldn't afford to do it. So then what we did was we looked at helping him refinance his property. If he would just refinance his property, he would have had the cash that he needed in order to be able to accomplish the goals of making the repairs within the units. He just chose not to do it. He over and over again, he would refuse to make the necessary repairs. And so the tenants, the property stayed vacant. We couldn't even get an increase in the property, much less increase in value of the property, because this particular owner wouldn't make the necessary repairs. Well, that's a problem. That's an absolute problem. And then we had a plumbing issue inside that property where there was a backup in this lady's house, and he would not allow me to move this other lady to a different unit, to a hotel, nothing. He just let her live in this backup and asked me tried to go weeks on end with getting multiple bids without making the repair for this tenant. This investor did not value his tenants. I asked this investor multiple times if he had ever been to the property, if he had ever toured his own property. If you wouldn't see value there, how can you expect your tenants to see value there? Think about back to what you did value when we talked about this at the beginning of the show. Was it that sports car? Was it the vacation? Was it the dream home? Why do you see value in those things, but you expect your tenants to see value in your current property? Guys, when you treat your tenants as partners in your property's success, you don't just add value to their lives, you unlock the value for your investment. And that, Renovation Nation, brings us to the end of another episode. I'm Nathan Bush, your guide on this journey of real estate business growth. Remember, just like plants need the right air, soil, and care, our minds need the right environment to build a life of purpose, passion, and growth. Don't forget to get your citizenship to Mind Renovation Nation by subscribing to the YouTube channel, heading over to www.nathanbushmba.com, subscribing to the email list, and then sharing this show with a friend so that they can participate every Friday at noon, just like you do in your real estate business growth. So join me next time for more insights, inspiration, and of course, a little bit of that nation building spirit that drives us to create a community united by shared values, purpose, and a commitment to leaving a lasting legacy. Until then, let's lead more than 25,000 souls to a life of values-based investing. In our journey of mind renovation, we often talk about personal growth, ethical leadership, and making impactful choices. Well, values-based investing is an extension of that philosophy. It's about being stewards not only of our finances, but of our vision for the future. And I'm signing off from the heart of St. Louis. So guys, stay blessed, stay inspired, and remember, every day is a chance to renovate your nation.